I had a client that didn't renew. They did a month with me and then they were like, I just can't afford to keep going. But within that next week, when I was a bit like, oh, that was a shame, it's a little dip, I had 3 people come to me and say, can we have a chat? People often ask me when I tell them this, how I managed uni as a single mum. But actually, if I'd have gone at 18, I'd have found it harder than I did doing it as a single mum because I was so much more driven.
I'm Martina, and welcome to Women Inspired Networking Conversations, the podcast. Now, if you're a woman in business who's ever been nervous about networking, felt intimidated about the salesy approach that most networking events have, then this is for you. This podcast is all about real conversations. No fluff, no pressure. Just real conversations with other women in business who understand the journey. Welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy. Grab a coffee and let's chat. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm with Gemma. Hi, Gemma.
Hi.
And I wanted to talk to Gemma today about her business and how networking has changed her business in a really good way. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, your story?
Okay. Well, shall we start at the beginning? So when I was at school, I wanted to be an actress, would you believe? Can you believe that?
No
Um,
way.
yeah, it didn't work out, obviously. So I went straight from school into an office job that I really hated. Did that for 2 years, but I really wasn't ready to work. And I used to call in sick all the time. Sorry to that employee. I got a job working at Alfred Park and fell in love with hospitality and just loved working in hotels. But during that time, my parents had moved to Scotland and it was really hard. I was only 19 when they moved. My younger 2 siblings had gone with them, and my mental health took a really real dip. So I followed them to Scotland, moved to Scotland, and then started working in hotels up there, which was really, really great. Really loved it. That was like the university experience for me. I was living in. There was loads of other people, and we were drinking and partying a bit and having a great time.
Basically, you're at university.
Yeah, it was exactly like that. And I had a really good time. And then I fell pregnant. My parents split up, so I was, being a little bit reckless. And actually, at that time in my life, I was thinking, do I ever really want to have kids? But yeah, pregnancy came along and my partner left me after 2 weeks. So I had a 2-week-old baby and I found myself a single mum, which was a really, really hard time. I had to leave my job. We moved back to Suffolk and I just didn't work for some time looking after my son and getting my life back on track. There's a point when you're on benefits and your children get a little bit older where they sort of start to pressure you into looking for a job. And I just wasn't really ready and couldn't see how I could ever work around my son as a single mum. So I went to uni and did my hospitality degree, focused around hotels and events, which I felt I'd really be able to achieve because I'd worked in that industry and I loved it and I knew it. And I did. And people often ask me when I tell them this, how I managed uni as a single mum. But actually, if I'd have gone at 18, I'd have found it harder than I did doing it as a single mum because I was so much more driven and so much more focused. And I was so much more organised because you just have to be, don't you, when you've got kids?
Yeah, I think when I went to uni, it was just all about having a party. You
Yeah.
didn't turn up to lectures. You didn't really appreciate it. Like, completely different.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, it was hard. I mean, I was telling my son the other day, there was like a whole term when I didn't go in because I had no childcare. But I still managed to come out with a 2-1 and I was so proud of myself. And then I went back to working in hotels, but it quickly became apparent it wasn't compatible with family life anymore, the shift pattern and stuff like that. So whilst I loved it, it just didn't work. So I got another office job, which I really enjoyed. So I was working in the kind of construction industry, doing admin for them. I really enjoyed the banter of like a male-focused office, which I think lots of women maybe find quite challenging, but I'm quite good at the banter myself. I can take it. So that was always quite good fun. And then I got pregnant again. I was with my now partner and I did NCT whilst with that pregnancy. And I really loved that experience. So then I joined a franchise to run a business teaching antenatal and baby through to preschool classes. So I do baby massage, baby yoga. And the idea was that people would come to us for their antenatal classes pregnant and then come along to the classes with their baby. And I loved that. And I grew that business really quickly and it did really well. And I made loads of lovely connections and connected other parents to each other, which was something I was really proud of because I know how much that community means. Um, and then COVID happened. I feel like every story of someone's career, they go, and then COVID happened. And that's like a big point where it changes. So yeah, that just kind of annihilated my business. I also had a wedding booked and we had to cancel that too. So it was a tough time, as it was for everybody.
I was going to say, did you ever get married?
No, we're still not married.
That's crazy. Are you going to get married?
Maybe. But we had another baby. Then I tried a few different jobs, but childcare just kept coming up for me. It's that age-old thing. It's just so hard, isn't it? Our parents are getting older, so it was hard for us to rely on people, and we didn't want to, So I'd started to do a little bit of freelance admin for people that I came across in my job, and so becoming a VA happened, and here I am.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness that happened.
I know. Who knew?
Do you think if COVID hadn't have happened, you'd have carried on doing the antenatal and the baby
That's a
classes?
really good question, because I did ask every now and then if I'm going back to it. Because I'll be honest, I was really good at it. I really enjoyed it. It was a really compatible role with having a young family. A large part of what I did there was talking to the parents. People always used to say to me, "Oh, you must love working with babies." And I used to say, "I don't work with them, I work with the parents." We would have mums come from like 4 weeks postpartum. So they would talk about sleep and breastfeeding and all of those things. And it was fine while I had really young children. But as you know, my youngest now is in school, he's 5, and I'm not there anymore. And whilst it's really valid to talk about those things and moan about the sleep and all of that, I'm not the right audience for that anymore, because now I'm moaning about a teenager or, you know, all the bugs that come home from school. And I don't feel like I can still empathise and understand with those parents. So for me, I think it had an end date as my own family grew.
So VA works better for you now.
I think VA works better for me.
So what kind of stuff do you do for people?
And whatever they need, really. I heard that phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, comes up quite often, I think, with VAs.
What?
I know, but actually, I know there's another line and I'm not going to remember it now.
Master, did I find it?
Go on.
You find it? Do you reckon if I just Google it, it'll come up?
Yeah.
Jack of all trades is master of none, though often better than a master of one. So, like, you're good at all things, not just one thing.
Yeah, I think VAs are inherently problem solvers and fast learners. So I think generally we might not have done the thing, but we'll know how to find out to do the thing. I do newsletters, I do minute taking, I do website edits. I do a bit of social media. I just love it. And I really love working with clients on an ongoing basis. I don't really do any kind of one-off work. I like to be able to get in, get to know the client, get to know the things that are happening in their life outside of their business as well. So I can really build that relationship and see the areas where maybe I can add value. We can make the processes quicker, all of that. That's what I really love.
I actually think everyone needs a VA in their life.
So
Because
do I.
for me, my business with Women Inspired Network is just booming. It's like getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I am at capacity now. Like I'm
Yeah.
at the point where I really need to outsource, but I haven't quite got the income coming in to provide for the outsource. I'm in that real limbo stage of
Yeah.
going all in, trying to like do it all myself and actually burning out.
You've grown so quickly, haven't you? Like, it's almost too fast. And I think you're at that real, like, tipping point. A lot of people do ask this question of when is the right time to hire a VA. And it's a really tricky sweet spot. But for most people, it's before you can afford it. Like, you need it before you can afford it. And you kind of maybe have to, like, ride out that transition stage. And then you really feel the benefit. But it is hard. And I know I often find VAs, as well as like marketing or social media support, if a business is kind of struggling or things are getting a little bit tighter, cost of living is impacted, things that people get rid of, which is a real shame because we're still kind of seen as a luxury. But I like to think I'm a bit more than a luxury. And I'm pretty confident my clients would say in most cases that I'm pretty essential to their businesses too. So yeah, I just love it.
What kind of businesses do you work with at the minute? Like, you don't have to tell me the names or anything like that.
No,
But
no,
what?
no. So I work with someone who runs postnatal fitness classes for mums and dads to bring their babies to. I work with a charity as a charity secretary. I work with a therapist. I work with a counsellor. I've previously worked with photographers and people that provide baby and toddler classes. And I do find no matter how different the clients are, there are always parallels. And there are often things that I can pick up from one that then transfers and I can say, well, I've got this client that does this. Maybe that would work for you.
So, of those clients that you've currently got, just out of interest, I know the answer to this already, but just out of interest, how many of those did you meet through networking?
Well, I think I met them all networking. Networking is just talking to people. And if you don't talk to people, you're not going to get clients. So, yeah, one of the clients is a returner from all those years ago, 3 years ago now. That's where she came back to me from then. So that's really, really lovely. That's like the biggest compliment when clients return. And then everyone else, yeah, is from networking. And it's so nice. It's so nice to like, because networking can be hard and it's a big commitment. And I go to at least 3 networking events a month. So it's a lot out of my schedule. And to be organised with school runs and stuff like that. So it's really good to see that the results are there.
I'm hearing this a lot lately. It's too much of a commitment. I can't justify the time because most of our events are 10 till 12. And quite a few people lately have said to me, oh, that just wipes my whole day.
I do understand that because you are a bit wiped out afterwards, but you just have to plan for that and factor that in. Like, and it's a positive wiped out afterwards.
Like, imagine if you hadn't gone to any networking, you'd probably be working for someone else being employed now.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a really good point because I first came to one of your networking events in Woodbridge in September and I met a client. As we know, that makes me weird and anomaly because it doesn't usually happen like that. But that was September when my youngest child had just started school. The summer holidays before that, I was applying for jobs because whilst I'd been doing my business for 2 years already, because I'd still got him at home, I was really struggling to commit to it, really struggling to make the time for networking. And I was kind of at that crossroads of do I go all in with the business or do I look for a job? So I spent that summer holidays quite stressed and looking for work. That's not fun. It's hard out there.
And also, who wants to work for someone else?
Once you've got a taste of the self-employed life, it is really hard to go and work for someone else.
So, how quick did that happen? So, on the first event in September, I remember this, you met one of the clients who's
Yep.
now one of your main clients. How has it happened between then and now? Like, how has that built up over time?
It's just kept climbing. Like I think, and as well, obviously, now I host networking events too. So that's added into my business. Whilst it's kind of a separate business, it's obviously an offshoot. So that's added into my earnings. And it doesn't happen overnight. Like you have to keep building that relationship. One of these clients that I'm working with right now, I've known pretty much since September, but we've only just started working together about 6 weeks ago. So you do have to play the long game. And when you're self-employed, you have to know that there's peaks and troughs.
I remember you called me one day and said, I've just lost 2 clients.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember. Was it 1 client or 2
No,
clients?
I lost one month and then one the other. And they'd been with me pretty much since the beginning. It was devastating.
But then what happened?
Like the next day, I got a client inquiry. And I'm not that spiritual. I don't generally believe in these things, but that was hard to ignore.
You called me. I said, you've lost those 2 clients because you need to make space for something bigger that's coming. I promise you. And I'm not overly woo-woo, but I was like, I can just see it. That's exactly what it is. And then you called me the next day and I was like, boom, there you go.
It is surreal. And it happens really often. Like, just recently, it happened again. And I had a client that didn't renew. They did a month with me and then they were like, I just can't afford to keep going. But within that next week, when I was a bit like, oh, that was a shame, it's a little dip, I had 3 people come to me and say, can we have a chat? And those haven't come off yet. But we're still chatting, which is how I think it works for a lot of self-employed people. And it was so quick, that turnaround again from, oh, here we go again, a bit sad, to all these inquiries coming in. I just couldn't believe it.
I think when you're networking often and consistently, you're always filling the funnel with new potential leads or new people you could follow up with. Because I know there's a couple of people in the success circle that could do with your help probably at some stage. And it's just sowing the seed and being there consistently and being at the forefront of someone's mind. Because one day they will say yes.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of small business owners, it's really tricky for them to justify someone coming in and doing something that potentially they could really do. I mean, let's be honest, the stuff that you do, we could do if we had an unlimited amount of time.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that. I know a lot of the work I do for my clients. They could either do themselves, either with the time or the inclination, or they could learn to do. I know that what I'm doing is not kind of groundbreaking, exceptional, highly skilled
I didn't
work.
mean it like that.
No, it's okay. But I know that it is stuff that they could do themselves if they had the time. So, but they don't, and by getting me to do some of that work, it frees them up to maybe do the scaling work or to work with their own clients. One of the clients I have works with clients all day long, the counsellor. So it's quite emotionally exhausting work. And she told me that she was then finishing with clients around 8 o'clock at night and then sitting doing admin until 10 o'clock in the evening, and she couldn't sleep afterwards. Of course she couldn't, because she's processing everything she's learned from the clients all day and then sitting facing a screen doing her own admin. And now she tells me she can sleep, and what I'm doing for her isn't saving the world, but it's allowing her to sleep so she can be a better counselor to her clients. That's invaluable. We had the Success Circle last month and we had a workshop on Google Business Profile. So I've now set her up with Google Business Profile, and we chatted about that this morning. She hasn't got a clue about that. She has no idea. But for what she does in particular, people do Google a counsellor. So having a good Google Business Profile for her is really important, but it's not something she knows anything about, has got no interest in setting up. I can do that for her because I came to the Success Circle and learned all about it.
That was a really good session, actually, when we did that as a workshop, because it's much more interactive. You weren't sitting there listening to someone speak. It was very get on Google, sort your profile out. Let's leave a few reviews for people. So you've taken those skills away and you can now give those to your client. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And proper kudos to Abby who did it for us. I love it because it doesn't just help me, I can use it to then help my clients. So stuff like that is awesome.
Gemma, to finish, do you want to tell us where you see the next 5 years in your business?
That's a long time, 5 years.
That is.
I love what I do. I would happily just keep doing what I'm doing. I have considered a lot recently about whether I start to work with associates as a VA. We all have a capacity, especially me when I have the school run and a young family, whether I start to consider to outsource some work. And I'm still mulling it over, but at the moment, I don't think it's for me. So I am kind of approaching my capacity, it's kind of time-wise with my clients. So that is something that I'll kind of still think about, and maybe for now just run a bit of a waiting list. Networking wise, I'm loving doing the networking, and we've talked a little bit whether I might consider taking on a second group in time. So I'd like to think in 5 years time I would at least be running 2 networking groups. Definitely still be part of the Success Circle because I love it, which is really, really fun. But no, I'm very content with where I am right now. And I think it's kind of, sometimes it's okay to just say, I don't want to take on the world. I don't want to take my business global. I'm just okay. I have a lot on my plate with a young family and stuff like that. I am considering maybe some kind of membership in the future because I run virtual co-working sessions, which are really, really popular. So it might be something that I consider there. But for now, things just feel really good.
I think that's amazing because most people are never content where they are. So it's really refreshing to hear someone say, actually, no, do you know what? It's okay to be where you are right now and just enjoy life and be grateful for what you've got.
I feel like I've found not the perfect balance because there's always peaks and troughs with motherhood. Like right now, because we're coming up to the end of the school year, it's really busy. But I feel like I've got quite a reasonably good balance between work and mum life and all of those commitments. I'm also a school governor. So I feel like I've kind of got a reasonable balance. So I don't really want to push that because I feel pretty lucky.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me about everything. And I'll speak to you later because we speak every day anyway.
It was lovely. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's amazing. I'm loving listening to it and I'm always happy to chat.
Oh, thank you. I'll see you later. Bye. Thank you so much for being here and listening with us today. If you're loving the podcast and want to find out more about our Women Inspired Network events, then find out more on www.womeninspirednetwork.com/events. Or you can connect with us on Facebook under Women Inspired Network, or follow along on Instagram under women_inspired_network. And of course, subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss an episode. I'll see you next week for another honest conversation.